Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling something that I find super fascinating, and I know a lot of you out there do too, cryptocurrency.
It really is one of the most talked about subjects, especially over the past few years. So we'll be going beyond the hype, looking at not only how it works, but also those potential benefits and risks.
Okay, so cryptocurrency, most people know it as like digital money, right? But is it really that different from using, say, Apple Pay or Venmo?
Well, they both allow for digital transactions, sure. But the core difference really boils down to decentralization. With platforms like Venmo, you're still going through those traditional institutions.
Right, those companies are still processing payments through the typical channels.
Exactly. Cryptocurrency, on the other hand, operates on a completely separate network, a system where no single bank or government has control.
So it's like a whole financial system that exists outside of the existing structures.
You got it. And that can be pretty appealing for a lot of people. But then it begs the question, if there's no central authority, how do you prevent things like fraud or chaos?
Yeah, how can you even track all these transactions if there's no one keeping tabs?
That's where the ingenuity of blockchain comes in. It's the tech driving most of these cryptocurrencies. Basically, it's like a massive shared digital ledger recording every single transaction.
So every time someone buys or sells cryptocurrency, it's logged in this blockchain.
Precisely. And here's the kicker. It's not stored in just one place. This ledger is replicated across a vast network of computers.
Kind of like a giant public spreadsheet that everyone has access to.
You could think of it that way, but it's way more secure than a spreadsheet because it's distributed. Altering or hacking that becomes nearly impossible.
Oh, okay, I see how that builds trust and prevents tampering. But what about the actual process? Let's say I want to send some Bitcoin to a friend. Walk me through that.
Sure. Do you need a digital wallet picture? Like a virtual bank account for your cryptocurrency?
Makes sense. So I keep my Bitcoin in this digital wallet instead of a physical one.
Right. And these wallets actually come in two main types, hot wallets and cold wallets.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this hot versus cold situation.
Hot wallets are connected to the internet, so they're super convenient for everyday transactions. Think of it like your checking account.
Gotcha. And a cold wallet.
Cold wallets are stored offline, maybe on a USB drive,
Yeah.
making them much more secure for long-term storage, kind of like your high-security savings vault.
So if I'm constantly trading crypto, I'd use a hot wallet, but for my long-term holdings, I'd keep them tucked away in a cold wallet.
Exactly. And to access either type of wallet, you need a private key, essentially a super secret password. Lose that key and say goodbye to your crypto.
Yikes. Guard that key with your life, it sounds like. Now, with all this talk about Bitcoin, it's got me wondering, are there other kinds of cryptocurrency out there?
Oh, tons. Bitcoin was the first, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking thousands of different cryptocurrencies, each with its own quirks and potential.
Thousands. That's mind-boggling. What are some of the other big names people might recognize?
Well, you've got Ethereum, which is known for its smart contracts, basically agreements that execute themselves automatically on the blockchain.
So like automated transactions all laid out in advance.
Yep. Then there's Binance Coin, Cardano, the list goes on and on. It's a whole universe of digital currencies out there.
It seems like the crypto world just keeps expanding, but with all this complexity, what's driving all the hype? Why are people so drawn to cryptocurrency in the first place?
It's more than just hype. There are some serious advantages driving this growing interest. One major aspect is financial inclusion. Many folks around the world don't have access to traditional banking.
So cryptocurrency could open doors for them to participate in the global economy.
Exactly. Especially in developing nations, it could be a real game changer, empowering people who've been excluded from traditional finance.
That's a powerful idea, giving financial power to those who've been left out of the system.
And let's not forget about decentralization. That lack of control from any single entity. This can have real-world impact in places with censorship, for example.
So folks can use cryptocurrency to bypass those restrictions.
That's right. It becomes a tool for freedom of information and financial autonomy.
Wow, so it's not just about money, it's about empowerment and access. That's incredible.
And we haven't even touched on faster, cheaper transactions, especially when it comes to cross-border payments. Imagine sending money internationally without those bank fees and delays.
That would be huge for individuals and businesses alike. It's like a whole new way of thinking about money and global finance.
Precisely. But it's important to remember, no system is perfect, and cryptocurrency has its own set of downsides to consider, one of the biggest being volatility.
Right. I've heard about those wild price swings. What goes up can come crashing down just as quickly.
Exactly, making it quite a risky investment for those who aren't prepared to weather those storms.
So it's definitely not for the faint of heart. What are some other risks people should be aware of?
Security is a big one. While the blockchain itself is quite secure, the platforms and wallets we use to store and trade crypto are vulnerable.
I've heard horror stories about people losing all their crypto savings to hackers.
Unfortunately, it happens. Choosing reputable platforms and taking security seriously is crucial.
So like double checking those URLs, being cautious of phishing scams, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. And then there's the regulatory landscape, which is constantly evolving and varies from country to country.
So it's a bit of a wild west out there in terms of regulations.
You could say that, and that uncertainty makes it challenging for both investors and businesses.
So staying informed about the latest regulations is key. Are there any other red flags we should be aware of?
Well, there's also the environmental impact. To consider mining some cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin, requires a massive amount of energy.
Right. I've heard about those energy-intensive mining operations. It's definitely a concern for the sustainability of these networks.
Definitely, it's not all sunshine and roses on the environmental front. There are some serious challenges to address. But even with all that, there's this feeling that cryptocurrency is here to stay.
I get that sense, too. It feels like more than just a passing fad. What trends are you seeing that suggest cryptocurrency is gaining real traction?
Well, mainstream adoption is a big one. We're seeing more and more businesses accepting crypto as payment, from small shops to major corporations.
So it's not just tech enthusiasts and early adopters anymore, it's going mainstream.
Exactly. And we can't forget about those central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs as they're called.
Right, those are basically government-backed digital currencies. Is that a sign that governments are trying to get ahead of this whole decentralization wave?
It's certainly a possibility they could provide the benefits of cryptocurrency, but with a layer of central oversight.
So a way to tap into the innovation while still playing by their own rules, fascinating.
Indeed. And it's not just governments adapting. The technology itself is constantly evolving too. One of the biggest hurdles cryptocurrency faces is scalability.
What does it mean exactly?
Well, existing blockchain networks need to become much more efficient to handle the volume of transactions required for true global adoption.
Otherwise, things could get bogged down, slow, and expensive, kind of defeating the purpose.
Precisely. And developers are aware of that. They're actively working on solutions to boost transaction speeds and reduce those pesky fees.
So the technology is becoming more user-friendly as it matures?
Absolutely. And they're tackling that environmental issue too, exploring more energy-efficient mining methods and alternative consensus mechanisms that require less computational power.
So it's becoming more sustainable and efficient as it evolves? That's really encouraging to hear.
It's an exciting space to watch unfold before we dive into what the future holds for cryptocurrency. I'm curious to hear what's stood out to you so far.
Honestly, the potential for financial inclusion is incredibly inspiring. The idea that cryptocurrency could give financial power to those who have been excluded from traditional systems, that's a game changer. But I also can't ignore those concerns about volatility and security we talked about.
Those are valid points, and I think it highlights the importance of approaching cryptocurrency with both enthusiasm and a healthy dose of caution.
Absolutely. It's a powerful technology with the potential for good and bad. So informed decision-making is key. Okay, we've laid a lot of groundwork understanding what cryptocurrency is, how it works, and some of those benefits and risks involved. Where do we go from here?
Now that we have a solid foundation, we can really start exploring what the future might hold for cryptocurrency and how it could reshape the financial landscape as we know it.
Okay, lead the way. I'm ready to dive into the future of crypto.
Let it do it.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork. We've explored this idea of cryptocurrency, its potential. Now I'm really curious about what the future holds. Is this really the future of money, or is it just a passing fad?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But the future might not be so black and white. I don't think it's necessarily about crypto completely replacing traditional money.
So you don't think it'll be like an either-or situation, more like the two systems kind of merging together?
Exactly. I
Wow.
think we're more likely to see a financial landscape that's much more integrated, traditional systems adapting and evolving alongside crypto.
So what are some of the trends that are pointing in that direction?
Well, we already talked about mainstream adoption, right? More and more businesses are accepting crypto as payment. And it's not just those big tech giants anymore. I was reading about a local bakery that just started accepting Bitcoin.
Wow, a bakery. That's interesting. So even small businesses are starting to see the value.
Absolutely. And of course, major companies are getting in on the action too. Payment processors are integrating crypto. Some governments are even launching pilot programs for crypto-friendly solutions.
It seems like those benefits, faster transactions, lower fees, increased transparency, it's becoming harder and harder to ignore.
Right. It's like the whole world is slowly waking up to the possibilities. And speaking of governments, we can't forget about those central bank digital currencies, the CBDCs.
Right, those government-backed digital currencies.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a sign that governments are realizing they need to adapt to stay relevant in this world of decentralization?
It's definitely a possibility. CBDCs would allow governments to kind of tap into those benefits of cryptocurrency while still maintaining a degree of control.
So they can leverage the innovation, but still play by their own rules. It's a fascinating dynamic.
It really is. And it's not just governments adapting. The technology itself is constantly evolving too. One of the big challenges facing cryptocurrency is scalability.
Scalability, what does that mean in this context?
Well, existing blockchain networks, they need to become much more efficient if they're going to handle the sheer volume of transactions required for true mainstream adoption.
Right, because if the system gets bogged down, it'll become slow, expensive, and that kind of defeats the purpose.
Exactly, and developers are on it. They're working hard on solutions to increase those transaction speeds, lower those fees.
So the technology is maturing, becoming more user-friendly as it grows.
Absolutely. And they're also tackling that environmental concern we talked about, exploring more energy efficient mining methods and even entirely new consensus mechanisms that require less computational power.
So it's becoming more sustainable and efficient as it evolves.
That's the goal. And what's really exciting is that this technology, it's not just limited to finance. We're seeing real-world applications popping up everywhere.
Give me some examples. I'm always curious to see how this stuff is actually playing out beyond the headlines.
Well, in developing countries, for instance, cryptocurrency is providing access to financial services for people who have never had a traditional bank account.
So they can use their mobile phones to send money, make payments, even access microloans all through cryptocurrency.
Exactly. It's like giving financial power back to the people. And it's not just about money, either in supply chain management. Blockchain technology is being used to track products, ensure transparency.
So consumers could scan a code and see the entire journey of their food from the farm to the store, no more shady practices or hidden ingredients.
Precisely, that level of transparency could really build trust between businesses and consumers. And then there's the whole world of art and collectibles. NFTs are using blockchain to verify the authenticity and ownership of digital art.
NFTs, they seem to be everywhere these days, but I'll admit I'm still a little fuzzy on how they actually work.
Okay, so think of it this way. Each NFT is like a unique digital token. It represents ownership of a specific digital item. Could be a piece of art, a video clip, even a tweet.
So it's like having a digital certificate of authenticity. You actually own a piece of the internet, not just a copy of it.
You got it. And that's just scratching the surface. We're really just at the beginning of what's possible with blockchain technology as it evolves. We can expect to see even more innovative and impactful applications emerge.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a truly transformative era, but with all this potential, there are bound to be challenges along the way, right? What hurdles does the crypto world still need to overcome?
Well, scalability, as we mentioned, is a big one. Those networks need to become faster and more efficient if they're going to handle widespread adoption. We don't want the system to buckle under pressure.
Okay, what else?
Regulation is another key challenge. That lack of clear, consistent regulations, it creates a lot of uncertainty for investors and businesses.
So we need governments to step up and establish some clear guidelines.
Exactly, something that fosters innovation but also protects consumers. And we can't forget about security. It remains a major concern as the value of cryptocurrencies continues to rise. So does the incentive for hackers.
So it's like a constant arms race trying to stay one step ahead of those who want to exploit the system.
And of course, that environmental impact we talked about, finding ways to reduce the energy consumption associated with cryptocurrency that's crucial for its long-term sustainability.
It's a reminder that progress isn't always a straight line. There are bumps along the way. But despite all these challenges, you still seem optimistic about the future of cryptocurrency.
I truly believe this technology has the potential to revolutionize not just finance, but many aspects of our lives. It's an incredibly fascinating space to watch and to participate in.
Before we move on to the next part of our deep dive, is there anything else you think is important for our listeners to understand about the future of cryptocurrency?
The most important thing is to stay informed, stay curious, and stay engaged. The world of cryptocurrency is constantly changing. It's up to each of us to decide how we want to participate in this evolution.
That's a great point. This isn't just about watching from the sidelines. We can be active participants in shaping this future.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to come up with the next big idea that revolutionizes the crypto world.
That's a thought that definitely gets the gears turning. Okay, so we've talked about mainstream adoption, the challenges that lie ahead. But there's one more topic I'm really excited to explore, Web3. It's a buzzword everyone's using these days, but what exactly is it?
Well, Web3 is often described as like the next iteration of the internet. Imagine a more decentralized, more equitable online world where users have more control over their data and digital assets are owned and managed through blockchain technology.
Okay, that sounds pretty futuristic, but I have to admit I'm a little lost on the specifics. How does Web3 actually work, and where does cryptocurrency fit into all of this?
Let's break it down. Think about the evolution of the internet. We started with Web 1, the early days of static websites, very limited interaction.
Right, the days of dial-up and those clunky websites.
Exactly. Then came Web 2, the social web we know and love today, dominated by platforms like Facebook, YouTube, where user-generated content is king.
The era of sharing, liking, and endless scrolling.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But Web 3 aims to shift that power dynamic, give more control back to the users instead of relying on these centralized platforms. Imagine interacting and transacting directly with each other through decentralized networks powered by blockchain.
So no more big tech companies controlling our data, profiting from our every click.
That's the idea. And cryptocurrency plays a key role in this vision. It provides the financial infrastructure for this decentralized internet. Imagine earning cryptocurrency for contributing content, participating in online communities, even just browsing the web.
So it's not just about investing in crypto, it's about actually using it as a medium of exchange within this new internet ecosystem.
You got it. And because it's built on blockchain, all those transactions and interactions would be transparent and secure, creating a whole new level of trust and accountability.
It's like a whole new digital economy is emerging.
Precisely. Now, this all sounds very conceptual, right? So, are there any real-world examples of how Web3 is being implemented today?
Yeah. I'm curious to see how this is actually playing out.
Well, we're already seeing the rise of decentralized social media platforms where users own their data and earn rewards for their contributions. Imagine a Facebook where you actually get paid for your content and have a say in how the platform is governed.
That's a pretty radical departure from the current model.
And in the gaming world, Web3 is allowing players to truly own their in-game assets instead of those virtual items being locked within a specific game. You could actually own them as digital assets, trade them, sell them just like real-world items.
So no more spending hours grinding for those rare items, only to have them disappear when the game shuts down. You actually own them. That's a game changer for gamers.
Absolutely, and these are just a few examples. The possibilities of Web3 are vast and still being explored, from decentralized finance to supply chain management to the creator economy. The potential applications are mind-boggling.
It's both exciting and a little overwhelming to think about the implications of all this, but it sounds like Web3 is about much more than just technology. It's about empowering individuals, creating a more equitable and democratic internet.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about values as much as it is about innovation.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from the basics of cryptocurrency to this potential future with Web3. It's clear we're in the midst of a technological and societal revolution.
And it's a revolution that's still unfolding. The world of cryptocurrency is dynamic, constantly evolving.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's the key message you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
The most important thing is to stay informed, stay curious, and stay engaged. The world of cryptocurrency is changing rapidly, and it's up to each of us to decide how we want to participate in this evolution.
That's a powerful message. We're not just passive observers. We have the opportunity to shape the future of this technology. Okay, on that note, I think it's time to move on to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore some specific areas of the crypto world in more detail.
Sounds good. I'm ready when you are.
Web3, that's a whole other world to unpack. But before we get too lost in the future, I'm curious what's happening right now in the crypto world. What are some of the hottest areas that are really capturing people's attention?
Well, decentralized finance, or DeFi as it's often called, that's definitely one to watch. It's all about recreating those traditional financial services.
Yeah.
You know, like lending, borrowing, trading, but doing it all on the blockchain without those intermediaries like banks.
So cutting out the middleman, putting the power back in the hands of the people.
Exactly. And because it's all transparent and open source, anyone can participate regardless of their background or credit history.
That's pretty powerful. It could really level the playing field for a lot of people. What else is making waves in the crypto space?
Another area that's just exploding, the metaverse.
Yeah.
This is basically a persistent shared virtual world where people can interact, socialize, even conduct business.
I've heard it described as like Ready Player One meets Second Life. Is that an accurate picture?
It's definitely a step in that direction.
Yeah.
And cryptocurrency is playing a key role in the metaverse, enabling virtual economies, allowing users to truly own and trade digital assets within these virtual worlds.
So you could buy virtual land, build a virtual house, even sell virtual goods and services, all using cryptocurrency.
Exactly. It's like a whole new economy is emerging
Yeah.
within these virtual spaces.
It's mind-blowing. And it's not just about entertainment, right? The metaverse has the potential to change how we work, learn, even interact with the physical world.
Absolutely. Imagine attending a virtual conference, taking a virtual tour of a museum, even trying on clothes virtually before you buy them. The possibilities are pretty much endless.
It feels like we're on the verge of a whole new era. But with all this innovation, I have to ask, are there ethical considerations we need to be thinking about as this technology becomes more integrated into our lives?
Absolutely. As with any powerful technology, there are potential downsides, ethical dilemmas that we need to address. One of the biggest concerns is the potential for increased inequality.
How so?
Well, if the metaverse and these other crypto-driven innovations aren't accessible to everyone, we could see a widening gap between those who have access and those who don't.
That's a valid concern. We need to make sure these advancements benefit everyone, not just a select few. What other ethical considerations should we be aware of?
Privacy and data security are huge in a decentralized world where data is often shared across multiple networks. It's crucial to have strong protocols to protect user data and prevent misuse.
Right, we don't want the metaverse to become some kind of dystopian surveillance state.
Exactly. And then there's the question of governance. In a decentralized system, who sets the rules? How do we ensure fairness and accountability? These are complex questions that we need to grapple with as this technology continues to evolve.
It's a reminder that with great power comes great responsibility. But even with these challenges, it seems like you're still optimistic about the future of cryptocurrency and its potential to shape the world.
I believe this technology has the power to create a more equitable, transparent, and connected world. But it's crucial that we approach it thoughtfully, addressing those ethical concerns, working together to ensure that these advancements benefit all of humanity.
Well said. We've covered an incredible amount of ground in this deep dive, from the basics of cryptocurrency to the complexities of blockchain, the potential of Web3, and the ethical considerations. It's clear this is a topic that deserves our attention.
It's the topic that's constantly changing, always fascinating.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
The world of cryptocurrency is full of possibilities, but it's also a world that's being shaped right now. Stay informed, stay curious, and most importantly, stay engaged. Your voice, your choices matter in this evolving landscape.
That's a great point. We're not just passive observers. We have the power to shape the future of this technology.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cryptocurrency.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time.